Hey Megan, welcome to the MasterCard Cup. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your dress position, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you back here in your dress position, let's first of all just take a look at your posture. So your spine's nice and straight and it's on a tilt. Your legs come down into maybe a little bit too bent of a position. Your arms, they hang down out in front of you quite nicely. You might hold them out there a little too far. So if I were going to work on your golf game, I would revise this position just a little bit. What we would do is we would push your tail out and up, at the same time pushing your sternum out, up, and forward. What that's going to do, it's just going to get your legs to straighten up a little, and it's going to increase the angle to your spine just a hair, okay? From there, like I said, your legs will now just be unlocked. They won't be bent. And then we can try and let your arms hang down a little bit more naturally, and then let the golf club work out to the ball. So a subtle change here where, you know, if we get our tail out, we're not bending the knee so much. We can try and get the spine on a little bit more of a tilt so we're a little bit more into the golf shot. Let the arms hang a hair more, increase the angle relationship between the arms and the golf club. So that would be ideal. From here, taking a look at your alignment, feet are a little bit closed. They're aiming out to the right. Carry that out towards the fairway. Theoretically, your club face is supposed to run parallel to your feet. Parallel lines on camera would have an appearance to converge. Under that philosophy, we can see that you're sort of set up down the right side of the fairway. So you're not that far off, but we may see some form of a compensation where, you know, we're trying to do something to get the ball back to the left, whether that's shutting the face of the golf club, whether that's coming over the top, whether it's a combination. I mean, we'll see that in just a few seconds, okay? So at this point in time, let's just go ahead and do a little split screen comparison between you and Chela Choi. I've got some color-coded lines on the screen to use as a reference point as it pertains to swing playing. Now, before we go ahead and look at the swing, let's just look at the posture. So we can see her spine's a little bit more angled. Notice her legs are definitely not as bent. Arms are definitely hanging a little bit better. There's a little bit better angle relationship between the club and the arms. Now, yet you've got an iron in your hand. She's got a driver. But still, posture's posture. We're the robot. We put the club in the hand. We swing the golf club. So really the posture shouldn't be changing. The only thing that's going to change is the ball's going to be further away, and then the ball location relative to the width of our stance will change. But from this angle, I mean, we should pretty much look very, very similar. Obviously, the pitch of the shaft will change, so the red line will be different. So in her case, her red line sitting here at approximately 41 degrees, and your red line here is sitting here at 51. But that's obviously typical and normal and natural based on how the club is designed, being obviously shorter. So from here, as we take a look at the golf swing, let's just observe some key things that should happen. So we want to draw the golf club back by rotating our shoulders, bringing our arms and hands back as well as the club. And when we do, we want the golf club traveling back on plane right along the red line. And that's exactly what we see here with Chela Choi. So the nice thing is the club head is moving back on an arc. See how that club is inside the ball. Through the early stages of the golf swing, we also have to incorporate some good wrist hinge into play, whereby we're going to transition the club head currently from below and in front of our hands to getting that club head above and behind our hands. This transitional hinge right here in the takeaway is very, very, very important, okay? From here, we're now going to work the club from red up to yellow. And when we finally set the club at the top of the backswing, we're going to see that the left arm of the club are pretty much situated on the yellow line. We have full shoulder rotation. We do this about a very stable right leg, all the while maintaining the posture axis of the spine that we achieved at address. So with you, let's go ahead and watch you initiate your takeaway here. You have a tendency of moving your hands out away from your core, okay? So the first thing I want you to understand about your takeaway is that it needs to be more natural by letting your hands, arms, and golf club swing inside and around you. Now, we're not talking a lot, but your hands, arms, and golf clubs should move inside and around. If this golf club's going to work back on plane, I'd commented that Chela Choi's club head was moving inside the ball. It's moving back on an arc. An arc is a circle moves inside. So we shouldn't be taking the club to the outside right now. That's a forced move, pushing the hands and arms out away from you. So you want to swing your hands, arms, and golf club inside and around. At some point in time, as you continue to come back here, your subconscious brain is going to realize you're taking this outside, you're taking it steep, and it's not going to be a strong position to hit the ball. So you're probably going to try and lay it off, and if you don't, you're going to set your arms too steep, and that's going to have a major influence on your downswing. So right here, you've started to recover a little bit. Hands, arms, club starting to work a little bit around you now. We're still not inside enough. And that club face is very, very closed. So going back to the address position, commenting that you're aimed a little bit right, I'd stipulate we might see one or two compensations to try and get the ball back to left. Well, one of the compensations we see right away is that the club face is closed. Now, whether you're producing that because of the takeaway and what your hands and your forearms are doing, or maybe maybe your grip is too strong, not from a pressure standpoint, but from a positioning standpoint. So if one of your grips is too strong, that will cause the club face to close. So that's something we also have to take a look at. As we come back here, we can still see that you're very stiff-wristed with the golf club. So we're not creating wrist hinge. We're not seeing the club head move above and behind the hands. Okay? So we can see that the initial takeaway here is a little indifferent from what we saw with Chela Choi. There's no forearm rotation. Club and hands are not coming inside and around us. We're not creating wrist hinge. So this is something you definitely want to learn to do. Right about here, club now starts to get above, not so much behind. And let's see if we, right there you start to shallow it out. So see it working more behind and your arms are shallowing out because your subconscious brain is realizing, hey, I can't keep picking my arms up and get them up over my head. I'm just not going to have any power. So you've created a nice correction here. And when you finally get to the top of the backswing, I mean, you've turned your shoulders decently. You are definitely in too steep of a position. Your left arm is above the blue line when Chela's left arm's on yellow. So we need to definitely shallow out your arm plane. How do you do that? Well, take your hands, arms, and golf club inside to initiate the takeaway and keep swinging it around you. It's not that difficult. So you just got to get away from forcing your hands out away from you and picking the arms up outside. Okay? When you finally get to the top of the backswing, there's a breakdown. Your right forearm's compressing to your bicep. It's causing excess run-on with your arms and your golf club, so there's an overswing, and we would like to learn how to get your arms in a good position. Now, again, your turn's pretty decent, very stable right side. I love your posture right now. I actually like your posture better now than I did at address. Remember I said I probably want to, like by getting your tail out and up, that's probably going to get your spine a little bit more tilted and have your leg just unlocked. Well, this is the exact posture I had drawn on the screen that I wanted you to revise your position to. So if you're going to move to here, why not start there? And that's why I suggested revising your posture. So let's bring it back down to address. Watch where your spine and your leg are. You're not in that position. See how your spine's a little bit more vertical and your knees are definitely more bent. Okay? So let's revise that posture so when you rotate now, you're just rotating on the axis we have drawn on the screen and you're not moving into that axis. Okay? From here, as we create our transition back in the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left, fire our knees and our hips laterally to the target, unwind the core and fire the hands. And in doing so, we have to bring the club from yellow back down onto red. And that's exactly what we see here with Chela Choi. We see the golf club returning back to plane. The other thing we want to observe is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. And that simply means that she's retaining angle. The club head right now is remaining above and behind her hands coming into the hitting zone. This is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in our golf swing, aside from the fact that she's also going to hit the ball straight because the club has returned back to plane, which is a main criteria in producing straight golf shots. Now, there's something I really want to point out here. Remember we were back at address, I said, hey, a very important move in the golf swing is creating wrist hinge. Getting the club to move from below and in front of our hands to above and behind. Do you notice when we do this, she's in the exact same backwards checkmark position. So from here, she just goes up towards her blue-yellow V zone, setting it on yellow, creates the transition back into the ball, and returns right back to that backwards checkmark. Okay? This is the single most important aspect of a golf swing, to hit the ball far and to hit the ball straight. So from where you are, which if we had more time and we had 2 camera angles, I'd like to look at your swing from here. Unfortunately, you're not loading your golf swing correctly, and what I mean by that shortly is that we're not creating our proper power V's. So your lower body's not stabilizing yourself to the target enough, and your upper body's not leaning away from the target enough. So right now, I can tell your upper body, your shoulders are leaning to the target, so we really haven't turned our shoulders correctly. So that's something we'd want to look at if I were working on your golf game as well. I refer to it as the face-on view load. Very important that we load our golf swing correctly from face on, that the lower and upper halves know how to support one another, okay? But you've got good enough turn, everything's great. The biggest thing from this angle is your arms are just too steep. So there's no way you're going to come down into the ball from on plane. There's no way that golf club is going to return back to red like what we see with Chella Choi, unless you absolutely reroute your hands, arms way to the inside, almost like a Jim Furyk or a Freddie Couples. Okay? So here we go. We're going to start your transition. We're going to watch you come in steep. So there go your hands. They're coming down blue. So there was no rerouting back to the inside. Actually, you corrected it right here. Nice job. You're hanging on. You're fighting. So this is a really, really good job right here. You're really fighting to keep the club head above and behind your hands. And you're doing it. So the great thing here is we have a backwards check mark. I mean, if we take a look at your lead form, we take a look at your club, you got a backwards check mark of sorts. So creating some power in your golf swing won't be an issue. The only problem is we're not going to be able to hit the ball straight because the club's not going to return back to plane. And that is the main criteria in producing straight golf shots. But the good thing about this is it is your compensation. You're coming over the top to pull the ball back to the center of the fairway because you're aiming out to the right, as we stipulated right from the get-go when we talked about alignment. Okay? So let's track your club head coming in the ball. You're fighting, you're hanging on. Whoop, let me change that color back to yellow. You're fighting and you're hanging on. So this is great still for power. Club head still above and behind your hands. But again, has not returned to where? Has not returned to plane. Go to the next frame. It falls out in front. Okay? So you are coming into the ball a little bit from outside to inside because of how steep that club is coming to the ball. And when I say how steep, it's actually just subtle. So you're not like way over the top attacking the ball from way outside to inside. Okay? It's a subtle over the top move, which is good because that subtleness goes in line with the subtleness of your alignment. And hopefully these two things can offset one another and you can pull the ball back to the left. The other great thing too is you had your club face a little bit closed, as we noticed coming back. So that's going to help the ball go left. Okay, so we're aiming out to the right. Club's coming over the top. We're going to swing the club a little from out to in. We can pull the ball back towards the center of the fairway, and hopefully that club face being a little bit shut can help seal that deal as well. Okay. Unfortunately, if we want to be consistent, we want to hit straight shots. The club does have to return to plane, as we see with Chella Choi, and then the golf club does have to track into the golf ball from this red line. And actually, in her case, she attacks it from slightly underneath the red line. So the only danger here is she could probably block the ball a little bit to the right. But, you know, if she imparts a little bit of right to left spin, so what? She hits like a 3-yard draw. That's virtually almost a straight shot. So again, like I said, club has to come into the ball from the red line in order to hit the ball straight in accordance to our alignment. Assuming, lastly, club face squares up via having a good grip. Those are your 3 most important things. Again, with you, we don't have either 2 of those right now, right? We're aiming right, coming over the top, and at that point in time, we already saw your club face was closed, so we're missing all 3 criteria. So at this point in time, seeing that the downswing planes are slightly different, you're on top, she's on plane, we can go ahead and take a look at the pass of the club. So her club is attacking the ball from inside, expanding out to make contact, moving through in a nice natural subtle arc. Your club was coming from a little bit outside, striking the ball, and watch where it goes. It's swinging left. Okay? So, like I said earlier, if we happen to square the club face up to this path, guess what? Well, we're going to hit a pull straight shot that goes back to the center of the fairway. Okay? It's not a straight shot. It's a pull straight shot because obviously we're swinging from out to in and we're trying to get that ball back to the center of the fairway here. Okay? So we're set up out to the right somewhere with our alignment. We're swinging the golf club from an out to in path from here, striking the ball, moving it in, and if we time it perfectly, we'll hit a pull straight shot or just a a subtle pull draw or a subtle pull fade. So neither one of those is going to hurt you. You know, if the ball just decides that it's going to stay straight out here, or maybe, let me just change that into red. You know, it's going to stay straight here, or maybe it's just going to move a little bit to the left, or maybe it's just going to move a little bit right. The dangers are if it over releases. Now the problem is we're imparting right to left spin, and we're going to hit a pull draw or pull hook. If it under releases, well, then we're hitting a pull slice. So a lot of your golf shot is determined based on your timing of your club face. Because we're aiming out to yellow, coming over the top, swinging along red, trying to pull the ball back to blue. If we over release the club, it follows green. Under release the club follows yellow. But if we time it properly, like I said, it'll stay on the red arrows either as a pull straight shot or a subtle pull draw or a subtle pull fade. But it does require a lot of timing on your part to be able to do this on a repetitive basis. Okay? And that's where, you know, the consistencies are going to be a little bit flawed. As you come through, let's see how you do with your footwork here. So you get up on your toe, carry yourself through to finish. So really nice athletic motion through the finish. Whoop, sorry, didn't want to do that. Hit the wrong button. So overall, I mean, you have some really nice athletic characteristics with your golf swing. It looks really, really good. Your hands work phenomenally. They come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil, you uncoil. You got good footwork that allows you to get through to a good finish. It's, you know, first and foremost, little refinement in your posture, but the biggest thing I see from you here, learn how to create a better backswing where it goes inside and around you. As soon as you go inside and around you right here, you're going to shallow out your set position right here, and automatically now there's a domino effect. You won't come as far over the top. So you're going to correct that downswing by anywhere from 5 to 95%. And at that point in time, then we can get in there and fine tune, make sure you're perfectly on plane. So once you're perfectly on plane, let's fix your alignment, let's make sure your grip's good, and you can become a much more consistent ball striker. Okay? I do want to take a look at your club face through impact, just sort of get a sense of where that club face was. So the club face squared up to the path, ball's going left. And it looks like it's going too far left. So we can track it to there, but then we lose it. So I assume you squared the face up pretty nice to the path, and it's going to stay a little bit left. And that's where you'll see your variances from left to right tendency. It's all based on what that club face does. But if we aimed better, brought the club down on plane, didn't compensate with the club face, you sort of see where I'm going with that. It's so much easier to do and to be consistent. Anyways, if at any point in time you ever want to work on any of these aspects of your golf game, I'm located over at Glen Abbey in Oakville, obviously where the event was held. Be happy to structure a little program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, you guys are looking for a unique gift to give your guests, feel free to touch base. Be happy to discuss my swing analysis services. Anyways, I hope you had a fabulous day, and I hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video. Take care.